Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Sam. I want to make a video today about getting a cab from the Cancun Airport to the Hotel Zone. Specifically because we kind of ran into some trouble, which is it turned out to be really opposite of everything that I saw in research. Before we went to Cancun last February of 2026, me, my wife, and my child, before we went, I did research just kind of figuring out, I just wanted to be prepared, what's the best way to do this? Where should we catch the cab at or whatever? And everything that I read and every video I watched on YouTube was just saying, you should just pay for private transportation in advance. And ultimately we did. I did some research, which is the best companies. Okay, I'm not even going to say the name because ultimately in this story, even though it's kind of a bad story, they all were in the same position, so there's no point of singling out a certain company's name. But we paid for it. It was $65 and we got a bottle of water with it. And we were going from the Cancun Airport, of course, but to the right next to the Coco Bongo, which is kind of like at the apex of the hotel zone. So $65. When we arrived, it's super crowded. We walked up, we found the guy, he's not holding our name. There's no, I was looking around because we put our name, that's supposed to be on a sign for our family. I'm looking around. I don't see it. Then I eventually see the guy that's wearing the outfit like they described that he would be wearing, the colors, and it has the logo for the company. Okay, I ask him. I say, here's the last name. He's flipping through like 3-4 sheets of paper. That's starting to get me a little scared. He finds our name and he's like, okay, right over there. So we walk over, we find the main, there's like 3 or 4 other workers that are there, and there's a line of, like huge line of people, and they're all kind of getting disgruntled, and I'm like, wow. We check in with him and he says, oh yeah, maybe it's like a half an hour wait, maybe 45 minutes or something. And then I talked to one of the families that's in the back of the line, and they said they've been waiting for 2.5 hours to be picked up. And so ultimately we just decided, we waited there for maybe 5 minutes and just kind of talked it over, and we're like, no, let's just go see what it would be to get a cab at this point, just kind of write it off as a loss. So we just walked right over to where the official cab booths are, told the guy where we wanted to go. It was, he charged us $50 American, so cheaper than taking the private van. And then we just left within like 3 minutes. The driver came over, we got in the car and drove off, and it was completely fine, completely safe. There was no haggling. And so, I'll give you more details about all of this because there's really a lot of information that it is good to know about all of it. So that's the story that really ultimately the cab worked out better for us. But what you should know is, Cancun, or Mexico in general, is like probably the 6th or 7th most visited country in the world. And Cancun is something like 2nd or 3rd most visited city in all of the Americas. So if your only perception of Mexico is that it's like what you've seen from news or bad stories or cartels or, which is a pretty good show, but like on Netflix, Narcos, if that's kind of your perception of it, it's not, that would not really be accurate, especially for like a real tourist zone like Cancun. Anyway, so it's a super, super popular destination. There's literally millions of visitors going there. And you can figure that, it's a super busy airport with millions of people, so that when you arrive, if there's other planes, say there's like 3 or 4 other planes and they're all landing within an hour and a half of each other, or some amount of time frame, the point is that there's going to be all sorts of people exiting the airport at roughly the same time, and there's only so many private cab companies, or private transportation companies. And I thought about it afterwards. I was like, the logic of it is that they only have so many drivers and so many vans, so it doesn't, unless it's just a really calm day with not many flights, I don't see how it makes sense, because it wasn't just our company that we booked with. There was lines for every other company had these huge lines of people waiting. So it took us a half an hour to go from the airport to where the guy dropped us off when we were in the cab. So if you figure, if that was the driver for the private company, same thing. It would have been like half hour there, half hour for him to get back. That's just for one family, and there's a whole line of families. So I'm not surprised that in reality it was just a cluster and it was just going to take a long time. So in the future, I would say I definitely would go for the cab if I'm going to anywhere like literally in the hotel zone or directly like downtown Cancun or something. I don't really understand where the people were saying it was. I mean, of course, anything can happen anywhere to anyone. I mean, really, there could be danger anywhere, but being that there's millions of tourists going to Cancun, and that's a lot of money that's going into Cancun, they have all the incentive in the world to make the place as safe as possible, to have the tourists have a good of experience as possible so that they can spend their money and want to come back. I mean, it just makes sense. And even that's like the city in general for like safety and just the way you'd be treated. And then even more specifically, like the cab drivers, their companies, they have to pay and get registered and whatnot to be able to be official cab companies set up at the airport where they have their own individual booths. So really, there's also like incentive to them to not rip you off, to not have it be some sort of crime-riddled, event of getting to your hotel. Because I mean, they would be reported, or if it got out, I mean, they could be booted from the airport, and no longer that company, could potentially not be allowed to come back, and that would be a horrible thing for the owner of the company. So really, again, all the incentive is to really try to treat you nice and not rip you off. Again, not that it couldn't happen, but here's some of the safeguards in Cancun, or at least from the airport. Where you're going is what the price is based off of. So there is a board, and it should be posted like in multiple places, and you can just ask to where it is when you get there, but it's going to show what the price is from the airport to the different zones. So like the whole hotel zone is split up into like 3 or 4 different zones, and then downtown's another zone. But anyway, there's a set price. So when you get there, it's pretty simple, really. You're just going up to one of the official cab booths. I mean, they literally, they're booths, and you're just telling them, they're going to ask you where you're going, and then they're going to tell you what the price is, and they'll also ask, are you paying in dollars or pesos? But honestly, it was fine. It was quick, easy. I would just say anywhere, like the advice would be, if you're getting a cab, just remember to specify, to make really, really clear that whatever the price is that you're given, I mean, you could try to haggle for it or whatever if you want to, but whatever price you're given, that you're clarifying that is the total price for everyone, and that specifically you're not, that the person's not talking about, oh, this is $40, but when you get there, that you find out it's $40 per person. But you know what, that's not really, I don't see how that would even be a possibility, that type of a ripoff. I don't even see how that would be a possibility at the airport, because when you go up to the booths, you go up, the guy's you're gonna figure out what the price is, where you're going, and this and that. You're gonna pay that person right there. They're gonna write you a receipt, and then either that person is gonna personally walk you over to where his drivers are at, taxi drivers, or he's gonna call on the radio, and the driver's gonna come over, and then you're just going to follow him back to his car, and I mean, you're going to have a receipt. You're not paying the driver later. You already paid for it. I mean, I don't want to say like 100% you're not getting ripped off, but I mean, really, that's like the situation. You don't have to be hyper vigilant and be like, oh, it's somehow a ripoff. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, really, at least at the airport, with the official taxis. Now, of course, there's all sorts of other things that could happen, not like super scary, but when you're leaving the airport, you have to go through, like after you go out of customs, there's this like last hallway where there's all these timeshare selling people that are going to be trying to talk to you as you're walking through. I mean, it's no big deal unless you want to talk to them. I mean, go ahead, but I don't see really why you would. Like, you're trying to go on your vacation. Why? And they're going to come up to you with all sorts of things. They may be like, oh, we'll help you find your ride. I mean, they're going to offer all sorts of really nice things, but then, I mean, they legitimately might help you find a ride, or they might just be like, yeah, no, don't worry, we'll give you a ride. But of course, nothing's for free, because like, they're going to say, yeah, we'll give you a ride. Then, hey, and then how about you take this free zip lining class, or, a day at this resort, and we'll give you the free buffet and this and that. And you just have to listen to a 4-hour, really pushy timeshare, pitch. I mean, and I don't know who would really want to do that. Maybe some people, they're like, yeah, that's worth it. And they pay probably millions of dollars to be stationed up. They pay that to the airport to be stationed up in this like Shark Tank or whatever the people call it. And then I think the logic is, that if they just get like 1% of the millions of of tourists that go through that can go and sit in on their timeshare spiel, that at least a couple, a certain percentage of those people are actually going to buy it, and so it may take a lot of rejection, and then they may make $15 or $20 or $25,000 or something. So for them, anyway, the model works for them somehow. It's hard for me to really understand or believe that it does, that people buy stuff from them, but it must work somehow. Regardless, you got to get past those people. No big deal. Don't talk to them. Just say no, thank you. Whatever. It doesn't even matter. You don't even have to look at them. Just walk past them. Go out the door. You go out the front door. There's going to be all sorts of people. It's almost a little bit of chaos. There's a lot of people holding up signs that do have names. Like they could be picking up. Maybe it's a shuttle company that for some reason it's working. My guess though is that a lot of the times these are private shuttle companies that are going to places that are way further out, like going towards Playa del Carmen and Akumal or Tulum or something, or resorts that are further out where they've contracted like some guy to be like, hey, pick this family up at this time, and it's not like they're jockeying for 50 different families that happen to be going to the same place. So I think in some ways in that type of situation it probably is working out better. And then you might have, I don't know, there's just a lot of people out there. So be prepared for that. And then where we were at when we went out, okay, to the left is where you'll see these stands, and that's where all the taxi drivers were stationed up. So, okay, here's another thing to just look out for. Besides the people in like the Shark Tank, or again, whatever it's called, besides them coming up to you and asking, oh, do you want a ride, or do you want this, or do you want that? When you go out there, you'll have other just random people walking up to you, be like, oh, taxi, or you want a ride, or this or that. Now, not that you're putting your life in danger or something, like I don't want to say that. It's just that if you get a ride from one of these kind of random people, it's going to be like an unlicensed, unregulated private ride. Or they could very well have a taxi or something, but it's not going to be like by the regulated system of the people, the companies that are paid and have gone through checks and background checks or whatever to allowed to be set up at the airport if you get it from just some random guy who's coming up to you. So I would advise you not to get a ride from some just random person. Just go find the regular taxi stands. I guess the other things I would just say is that to make you feel better about it is that you're not having to haggle, at least at the airport. Now when you get to downtown or wherever you're going, the hotel zone or whatever, then I think it's a lot cheaper there to just get an Uber at that point. Like I think way cheaper. But all in all, I would say Cancun taxi drivers, or just to get a taxi in Cancun is probably, it's certainly not like the most expensive. Compared to the United States, I'd say it's about in the middle. Like it's not like super cheap. It's obviously it's not super expensive. It's just kind of in the middle of what it costs. But getting a Uber, I think, is much cheaper. Like, again, we spent $50 from the airport to the condo that's right near Coco Bongo, and the Uber to get back from that place back to the airport was $15 US. So quite a lot cheaper, really. And then if it makes you feel any bit safer in Cancun and probably a lot of other tourist places in Mexico, they have specific tourist police where their job is really to monitor, protect, patrol the tourist areas. They're not really out, they're not trying to like bust you doing something. They're really there to be a presence and to really, to help you. They are trained to like, I don't want to say they're not your servants or something, but they're there to help the tourist industry, help you not get ripped off. They're gonna like mediate. Say you're having, you did get a cab and you guys are kind of fighting over the price, or like this doesn't seem right or whatever, or there's a storefront where they're like, you think you got ripped off for a price of food or this or that. Actually in the airport they advertise like, here's a phone number to call to get these guys. If they get involved, they're supposed to be neutral. Like they're gonna come in, try to figure out what's going on, try to mediate the situation between you and whatever, like Mexican national, if you had a confrontation. Now, we had absolutely no confrontations with anyone. I never felt unsafe the whole time I was there. And again, I have like my wife and a 10-year-old daughter there. We walked around at 10:30 at night, going out to eat, walking around the hotel zone. Like it's wildly guarded, and honestly, even though there's like clubs and people are partying, I mean, it really wasn't, I at no point felt unsafe. There's so many police officers and also like military guys like stationed up on just so many different corners as you're walking around. Then also they're all patrolling on foot and then coming by in vehicles. That, I mean, like for me, it didn't make me kind of unnerved to be like, oh, there's guys with machine guns in the back of vehicles. I mean, really, I thought, I mean, cool. It's their presence, just being there, is hopefully kind of blocking or preventing violence and crime and all this and that. And then like the hotel zone itself, because there's a new bridge that's now literally open in the last few months, but before that it was only 2 access points to get to, and now there's 3. But still, it's really controlled. So like if something was happening, they would just clamp down the 3 access points to the hotel zone and just boom, they'd block those roads, and then the police would swarm. I mean, they're already there. So that is to say, that whole area is wildly secure. And again, anything could happen to anyone, anywhere. It's something that I would advise you to just look into, and I think you would probably come to the same conclusion that I have, that it's quite secure. So yeah, that's basically, I mean, if you've listened this long, I've really rambled on, but I don't know if that helps you feel a little more confident about the whole situation. I would highly recommend taking a cab, an official cab from the airport, and not risk, like in the sense of risking your time, like that. And again, it just makes sense. If you get a private shuttle, yeah, I mean, maybe it's going to work out perfect, or you might be like a Saturday when I was showing up and there's tons of people in the airport and every shuttle company was completely backed up with people waiting to get rides. That's what you're risking, is your time in that case. So for me, it was well worth spending $50 more to just get the cab ride to our condo. So if you're still here, thank you. Check out, please, like, subscribe. But I mean, like, do me a solid and like check out my music, because that is really my kind of like my one big passion in life. So thank you very much.